Was the Brooklyn Nets' big three of James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant the worst big three we've ever seen? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is League Talk. If you are new here, my name's Emmanuel Camia, and on here I make basketball videos pertaining to the NBA. I give my thoughts and opinions, and I break things down analytically. So if you're into that kind of content, then this is the channel for you. So make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and drop your thoughts down in the comments below, and let me know what you guys think of the video. And aside from that, let me jump into this video. So the Super Bowl is come and gone, and congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams on a well-deserved Super Bowl run. Congratulations to Matt Stafford. And with the Super Bowl gone, the NBA trade deadline also came and went on Thursday, the 10th, and with that we got to see a huge blockbuster deal, a deal I didn't think would happen. Of course, I'm talking about the deal between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets that sent James Harden to the Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and Ben Simmons, and one 2022 first round pick and a 2027 first round pick. And now that the storm and the dust has settled down, I want to talk about James Harden's tenure in Brooklyn. In particular, I want to talk about the big three's time together. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. And I want to talk about how it all came apart for that group and how big of a disappointment it is. And subsequently, I want to ask, were they the biggest disappointing big three we've ever seen? We've seen a bunch of big threes come and go. LeBron, Wade, Bosh, KD, Steph, Clay, LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love. The list goes on and on. But this big three of KD, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, it was so disappointing. The reason it was so disappointing was because it had so much potential. I don't think we've ever seen a group of guys collected on the same team that had that much talent. Two former MVPs and Kyrie Irving, a champion. The only other team I could think of that comes that close, like I know I just mentioned big threes, but the big three that I really think came close to that talent that could compete with that was the Kevin Durant-led Golden State Warriors. That team had a lot of talent on it, but at least from that team, they got 2 championships out of it. So what happened? Well, all 3 of those guys, KD, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, all 3 of them had issues that played into why this team or that group, that big three, only played 16 games together. Yes, you heard that right. That big three only played 16 games together from last year and this year. That's insane. And they all, had their issues that played into why it was only 16 games. And let me get into it. First, Kevin Durant. The issue that Kevin Durant played into the big three was that he was very injury prone. And that was a recurring theme of this team. Injuries, a lot of injuries and missing time together, but that doesn't explain why they all missed time together. It wasn't just because of injuries, and I'll get into that why later when I speak about Kyrie Irving. Kevin Durant was the most injured out of that big three, and he missed the most games due to injury. In fact, he's out right now due to injury. So next up is James Harden. I think James Harden played a big role as to why this team didn't work out, even though he was the one that was pouting and left. I don't want to admit it, but James Harden is a diva that I, for years, didn't see because he is my favorite player, but I can't just turn a blind eye. James Harden has been a huge diva, and the thing he contributed to this big three that was their undoing was miscommunication. A lot of the problems that this team faced could have been solved with simple conversations. James Harden was clearly not okay with Kyrie Irving's situation in Brooklyn, and he didn't voice that until the trade deadline, until like a week before the trade deadline. Furthermore, reports are coming out that James Harden did not like that Steve Kerr wanted to model the offense to what Golden State had, in which it was a free-flowing offense. That's the offense that KD and Steve Nash wanted. James Harden wanted the offense to look more like ISO offense, like he was used to in Houston, which doesn't make any sense because one system, the free-flowing system, I think is the better system because if you ever see the Warriors execute it properly, it looks beautiful. And furthermore, that offense it got them 2 championships. Well, James Harden never won a championship with his offense. Also, James Harden didn't want the offense to go through Kevin Durant. That is another report that is coming out. which again doesn't make any sense because Kevin Durant is much better than James Harden. And James Harden always struck me as a high IQ basketball player. And this kind of puts a chink in that for me personally, because another player who I think is very smart in terms of basketball is Stephen Curry. And when I contrast James Harden and Stephen Curry together, one player, Stephen Curry, is willing to take a back seat, and Stephen Curry is more decorated than James Harden is, and he was willing to take a back seat to Kevin Durant because he just understood Kevin Durant's better, right? And because of that, the Warriors got 2 championships out of that, and James Harden wasn't willing to do the same thing, even though Kevin Durant has 2 championships, even though Kevin Durant's gotten there. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And that turmoil, that friction is what I think James Harden contributed to that big 3. Reports also came out that James Harden would roll his eyes whenever the coaching staff would write a play up for Kevin Durant, which boggles my mind because James, you've played with Kevin Durant before in OKC. You know he's better than you. Like, he's better than you. And if you're telling me, if James Harden, because James Harden was all talking about how I just wanted to win a championship, I want to win a championship, that's all I care about. If you're telling me you want to win a championship this bad, then why are you so reluctant to take a back seat? Why? He wanted the offense to go through him like iso ball, like it was in Houston. That wasn't going to work. Furthermore, you're the guy that joined Kevin Durant. It's not your team, buddy. So that's what James Harden contributed to this team, to that team. Next up is Kyrie Irving. Don't even get me started with how big of a diva Kyrie Irving is. What Kyrie Irving contributed to that group was chaos and instability. And I also forgot to mention unavailability. Kyrie Irving made so many unnecessary distractions, so many unnecessary headlines, right? That it caused him to be fined and missed games. Remember last year, he took 2 weeks off without telling Steve Nash where he was going. Turned out he was going to go party with his sister. He got fined for that. Then the injuries played into Kyrie Irving because he's also injury prone like Kevin Durant. And then the COVID thing. Just a huge distraction. I think that's what he played into that team. That's what he contributed to the downfall of that team, right? And getting on James Harden's nerves and not being able to make it work. He made it hard for the Brooklyn Nets to work. In order for them to make it work, they had to climb a mountain and cross an ocean in order to make it work. And that's why James Harden opted to just leave instead of doing all of that. So now that that's out of the way, let's assess just how big of a disappointment they were. To me, they were extremely disappointing. Like again, I said, I don't think I remember a group of guys, 3 guys that are as talented as those 3 guys are. The Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry big trio, maybe. But still, this team, it boggles my mind, right? And I think, yes, they are the most disappointing, the worst big 3 ever. Right? And the only other worst big 3 I can think of that maybe even comes close to them is the big 3 of Kobe Bryant, rest his soul, Steve Nash, and Dwight Howard in 2012. But even them, right? Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant were on their way out. They weren't in their prime, and the game of basketball was moving away from Dwight Howard. So even them, they don't even compare to the big 3 of Brooklyn. And right now, I can think of maybe the Lakers. The Lakers with, Russell Westbrook, they're pretty bad, but at least that group is still together. At least there's still hope to turn it around. What little hope there may be, but at least they're still together. Something the Brooklyn Nets can't say. But to answer the question, yes. That big 3 was the biggest failure and the biggest disappointment and the worst big 3 I've ever seen. And it isn't a talent thing. It's just dysfunction. It was dysfunctional. There's just dysfunction all around from each player to another. But this gives me thought. Someone said this, I don't know who it was, I think it might have been Nick Wright, but this big 3 coming apart gives us new perspective into coaches like Steve Kerr, Phil Jackson, Eric Spoelstra, Tyronn Lue, because coaches like that who coach great players, right, always get the knock because they never get the credit when the team wins, because everyone always says, oh, well, I could coach Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson if I had on my team. Oh, I could coach LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh if I had them on my team. Oh, I could coach LeBron, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. Oh, my left nut could coach Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, right? And this coming apart of this team really exemplifies why these coaches need their credit, because it takes skill to actually be able to coach and manage players of these calibers. And I want to emphasize on the word manage, because a lot of these stars, they're overgrown children and there are a lot of divas, right? The worst thing that James Harden would do was he didn't have communication skills, or he would roll his eyes at Kevin Durant. Kobe Bryant, when Phil Jackson was coaching Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant and Shaq would literally fight. Phil Jackson would literally have to manage Scottie Pippen not showing up when the season started because he opted to not get the surgery in the offseason and instead get it at the beginning of the season. He had to manage Dennis Rodman literally flying out to Las Vegas in the middle of a playoff series to go wrestle. That's dysfunction, and he was able to keep it all together. When you contrast all that stuff that went on with Phil Jackson or Steve Kerr, you really think, wow, they deserve credit for what they did, right? Because it isn't easy. Because a lot of these dudes are egotistical, right? It's not easy to manage egotistical, guys who think, it's all about me, right? So kudos to coaches like that. Eric Spoelstra, who coached LeBron in Miami. Tyronn Lue, who coached LeBron in Cleveland. Steve Kerr with the Warriors, Phil Jackson with the Chicago Bulls and the Lakers. So those are just my thoughts on this big three and what I think of them and what could have been. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think of the big three. Yeah, and until next time, kids.